Hi guys, and welcome back for year 4 of my home garden. After a few less successful years, I decided to get an early and aggressive start this year. First off, I used the tractor to dramatically increase the size of each plot and to dig out many of the biggest rocks that I struggled with in the past while tilling. I then scooped up some of the topsoil to use in other spots of the yard and to till back into the garden. Next, I started picking out as many rocks as I could find. And began tilling everything to prepare for several loads of compost. Well, after one day, this is the mess I've made. And look at the rocks that I've pulled out of this. Oh my god, I'm exhausted. It's probably 8 hours of work. And you can see a ton of rocks, which are going to be good over by my garage. It'll look alright, but look at the rocks. Just hundreds of rocks. But we now have this one big plot tilled. I've got to get some compost in there and some limestone, but it's coming along. This one plot is more than the 3 that I had before. The middle one's only going to get slightly bigger, but then the one on the end is probably going to be about 2/3 of this one. Just a little bit smaller. So we're going to probably triple our garden size here. So we'll see how that goes. Well, it's a windy day here today, so less flies than usual. I still got the fly dope out because there are a couple of stubborn ones. And as you can see, I've got the big plot already there. The small one in the middle I did yesterday. So today I'm starting another like medium-sized one. So I'm just passing through and picking up all the big rocks. As you can see, I got a nice little pile going. So get to work. Well, I picked the first batch of rocks from the garden, and I had enough to line the entire length of my garage on this side. Now there's still a whole lot more to be picked up. I'm trying to get the kid across the street to help me out, maybe pay him a few bucks. But other than that, I'm officially done tilling and composting and fertilizing everything I wanted to do this year. So now it's time to start planting. It's been about 3 weeks of working in the afternoons after work and weekends to get this done, but it'll be worth it, I think. I've got a big bag of seeds here. Of course, I grow everything from seed. Potatoes, obviously, from seed potatoes, but everything else is going to come from seeds. So it's why oftentimes things don't grow, or they're just a little too weak because I don't have, you know, that nursery ready to go plant that some people have. Maybe someday I'll have that greenhouse up and that'll be what I'll do myself. But for now, let's get some seeds in the ground. Hi guys, it's hard to tell, but the sun just dipped down below the trees there. And my battery's going dead on my phone, but I thought I'd do a quick update. It's middle of June. I've got everything planted that I wanted to plant this year. I just got a tomato plant and cucumber plant from my girlfriend's aunt. I usually get my tomatoes from them. They're much better gardeners than I am. So I thought I'd do a quick update and show you what's going on here. We've got potatoes sprouting. This year so far, soil seems to be doing quite well. I just built this little screen thing to protect my turnips. As you remember, previous years, I have a lot of trouble with cabbage worms. I don't know if this is going to keep them out of there. I don't know if they start as a butterfly and they lay the eggs and that's where the worms come from, or if they come straight out of the ground, but we're going to find out if this keeps them out or not. As you can see, I have a sprinkler going. So every year the biggest problem I have is the beginning of June. I plant everything. I end up working a ton of overtime at work. I'm not able to keep the soil moist as the seeds are starting to sprout, so they end up drying out, and that's one of my biggest problems. So I tried a sprinkler similar to this one of my first years here, and it didn't work out very well. This year I decided to get a slightly bigger, better one. So far it's been working out pretty well. The wind just picked up and it's struggling now to get water on this side of that garden, so I may have to turn it. But so far it's keeping things quite moist. It's been quite dry, but we did have 2 days of rain that really saturated everything. If I dig down about 2 inches or so down, it's still quite moist, but the top where some of those seeds are is still quite dry, so I'm trying to stay on it. But like I said, really busy with work. Peaches, that peach tree didn't look too great earlier this year. There's a lot of branches that are looking like they're dead. The others, the leaves have started sprouting and they're looking a lot fuller now, but it was looking pretty pitiful a few weeks ago. But as you can see, several of those branches look dead, so I may trim those off later. We'll see if anything sprouts from them. If not, they may get a little trim. Apple trees, I'm not sure if I got this on video recently, but I had a few blossoms only on this tree, not the other one, and I'm under the impression that you need to have 2 trees and they need to cross-pollinate or something like that in order for them to grow. But as you can see, there's some sort of little apple growing there. I don't know if that's going to die off, but we'll see. The other 2 little blossoms are not looking like they're doing as well. I hope you can hear me all right. The wind is really starting to pick up there, so the rain is coming. I'm still going to run the sprinkler anyway, because every time I think it's going to rain enough, it's just a little sprinkle and the soil doesn't get wet. Or we get a torrential downpour when I do get the sprinkler down. All right, so down here I've got watermelon and pumpkin. I bought cheaper packages of seeds this year. They were only 99 cents. I thought I was getting a deal, but I'm getting a third of the seeds that I normally do. In the back there, we've got our giant sunflowers again, so we'll see how those go. But have a look at these cucumber or pumpkin. Oh, sorry, these are pumpkin or watermelon. I'm pretty sure the back here is pumpkin, but I really can't remember. I ran out of pumpkin seeds and I threw a bunch of watermelon in there too. Hopefully they don't cross-pollinate and end up with some weird pumpkin watermelon things, because that wouldn't be good at all. This one here, got 1 sunflower coming out there. I think the others are really close. And then I think for watermelon or pumpkin, I think this one's all watermelon. I'm not seeing anything come out yet. I think earlier, before I put the sprinkler on, I saw a few that were just starting to break the surface. But so far I'm quite happy with the soil. I was worried by extending the garden that it wouldn't be rich enough this first year, but I guess I got enough compost and fertilizer in there that some things are growing. I'm gonna head back up and we'll look at the top gardens there in a minute. The rhubarb, again, sprouted again this year. Looks maybe a quarter of the size of my neighbors, so it's still not doing that great. I think in the fall I'm going to focus on the soil this year. I just threw this in the ground. I didn't do much to really condition the soil first, so threw a little compost on there this year and some fertilizer that hopefully something will seep down as it rains. But I'll dig down a little ways carefully around the roots and try to get some nice rich soil for next year. Strawberries are spreading like crazy. As you can see, I've got the painted rocks here. I keep moving them around where all the bunches are, but I can see lots of white berries coming around. This thing is really trying to stretch out here. I have this set up about a 4x4 area. Really like strawberries, so I really think I'm going to extend this. Maybe, I don't know, 16 by 16. I mean, this is the edge of my property, so I mean, I can give away a lot of space for fruit. So I think I'm going to extend this year. There's still weeds all over the place in there, but I'll live with that. Grapes, I just installed this mesh here. It's an extra shelf that I had inside the garage with a nice big steel rod to give it some strength, and a couple of these little driveway markers. I hope that'll keep it straight. It looks pretty secure. Give it a little shake there. It's a bit of play, but it's standing up pretty good. So I had some little wooden supports for the grapes, but they were running taller than them, so this should give them, you know, a good 6.5 feet of height if they want to get up there. Again, I don't know how long these are going to take before they actually give fruit, but they're looking pretty healthy, considering I just messed around with that and had to unwind some of their vines, and I'm just waiting for them. I'm hoping by tomorrow they'll have grabbed on again. Oh, I guess actually it looks like this one's already grabbing on. It's only been maybe half an hour. Raspberries are not coming up as quickly as I thought. The old stem is just sticking out there. They're there. I can see the leaves. They're pretty recognizable. I can't remember if they sprouted out quickly last year or not, but I seem to remember getting raspberries before strawberries, but maybe I'm mistaken. And these are the new guys this year, the blueberries. Seem to be hanging out pretty good. I don't know if maybe they had a hard time and we lost the berries, but there were, oh no, there we go. There's some berries, so we should have those in no time at all. This tree here, I'm not really seeing any, but I guess that's a good sign that at least one of them is really healthy. This one's maybe looking like it's had a harder time. Compact that ground a little bit more. It looks like it's having a hard time standing up. All right, so this is the bottom area here. I'm going to try to do fewer long updates. I find the last two videos were quite repetitive. Every update I was going over every single item in the garden. So I think every update I'm going to maybe pick one, if I can keep track, so that there's it's a little less repetitive. This one here I will go over everything. Nothing going on in here. This I planted cucumber. This area here, you know what, I didn't really write down everything, so when I got here I was going through whatever seeds I had. Like I said, that is turnip. I'm trying to remember what I put here. I really can't remember what's here. I guess I'll see when it starts sprouting, if it starts sprouting. Iceberg lettuce, I believe, is here. And, or sorry, this is romaine lettuce. And then just ahead there, peeking out, is iceberg. Oh, I'm starting to get wet here. I'm just going to back up a little. But there's some iceberg lettuce back there. Potatoes, I am really impressed. Remember last year I just had that one potato. It was my worst year for potatoes. It's one of my favorite crops to grow. I just love the surprise when you're digging in the ground and you just start finding bunches of potatoes, and you're just seeing this one plant here. I was speaking to my neighbor and he had some advice. Apparently when the plants are fully grown, you bury them with soil, and that forces the plant to push harder and dig up through that deeper ground, and you get a lot more potatoes. So I may try that with maybe a quarter or half of the potatoes. My phone just flashed 5%, so she's dying. I'm gonna go quickly to the tomatoes here, and that cucumber plant that just broke, I'm hoping that survives. This is all carrots, so I'm not seeing anything yet. They're usually pretty slow to pop out of the ground. And then corn here. I planted a ton of corn. I'm really hoping that I get a lot this year. Last year I had some that were at the verge of being edible, so I'm hoping better soil this year, a lot more plants, a lot more compact so that they can help pollinate each other. Fingers crossed that this is going to be good. So yeah, that's it for this update. Early on, battery's dying, but wish me luck. Hi guys, sun's going down now here. It's the first week of July, and I'm just out in the garden. I tilled these two areas here. This is where I had cucumbers planted. So I had long cucumbers and I had pickling cucumbers. Neither of them seem to have caught. As you can see, lettuce, onions, everything doing fairly well out there. Inside the little tent, my turnips are doing great. No trouble with the worms so far. The leaves are massive compared to the size of the roots, so they've got a lot of growing to do, but really happy with how that mesh is working out. So as far as I can see, those worms come from the air, from the butterflies. They don't seem to be coming from the ground. So I lucked out so far. We'll see if it's the same next year, but I'm really thinking of building a couple more of these over the winter that I can drop on any little plots that may be susceptible to the insects. As I mentioned before, I don't want to focus on everything every week, but I'm just going to highlight a few things. First is strawberries over there. We harvest the strawberries this week. We probably got about 2 dozen. I planted another apple tree, so this would be our 3rd apple tree and our 4th fruit tree. This is a Golden Delicious, so we'll see how that takes. There's about 7 apples on it already. They're quite small. I don't know if how big they'll get or if they'll be any good to eat, but happy to have another tree there. Now I've just been working down here, pulling some weeds. You can see I tilled another area here. I tilled a small one there at the end of the potatoes too, and I put some garlic in. Now the garlic was put in pretty late. I bought it at Walmart. It was already sprouting, so God knows if it's good to plant, but we'll find out. Now the corn here, as you can see, now that the weeds are out and I've tilled a bit, not too many corn plants actually sprouted, considering the number that I put in there. So I tilled it, I put a lot more in, 2 full boxes. 2 full boxes of seeds. So I'm hoping that these will take and they'll catch up with the others, and hopefully they all mature and pollinate at the same time. Now here's one thing I do want to take a look at for this week, and you can see these tiny rows of plants. Well, for years I've been trying to grow peppers. I love green peppers in nachos, that sort of thing, frying them up, and I have had 0 success. Every year I try, I don't get a single sprout. Now if you look at these rows, the interesting thing here is I got these seeds myself. So over, not last winter, but the winter before, or through the year before, I cut numerous green peppers, making nachos, that sort of thing, and I saved all of the seeds. I rinsed them out, I let them dry in paper towel, I threw them in a baggie with all my other seeds. This year I had so many seeds, including 2 packs of seeds, some red and green that I had planted, and I think they're the same seeds regardless. I bought both plants and I put all those seeds in the ground, and I just threw the entire Ziploc bag full of seeds, and would you look at this, like, they're sprouting like crazy. So I'm really surprised that just seeds that came from my kitchen, dried out, threw in a Ziploc bag, are sprouting better than the ones that I buy from the store. I thought for sure the seed professionals would be doing something that I didn't think of, but so far they're doing really well. So fingers crossed that these turn out and we actually get some peppers this year. That would be great. So that's it for this update this week. I've got some more weeds to pull down at the other end where the carrots are, and we'll look at a few more things maybe next week. Well, I'm out in the garden just doing a little walkthrough, and I wanted to point out something I noticed. There's one of those little white moths that are always putting worms on the turnips, and as you can see, all the turnips are still under this mesh. They're so full that they're starting to outgrow it, but I'm still going to leave that mesh on. But look how healthy those leaves are. There's 0 worms eating them, and that little guy's just trying to get in there, but it's not going to happen. So this is definitely the best option for anyone that has an issue with those little moths putting worms and getting out on your turnips, your broccoli, cabbage. This white mesh stuff does a really good job. Hi guys, it's mid-July and I'm just out for a little walk in the garden. I had to replant my cucumber and still not seeing much. I think 1 or 2 of them have sprouted. It was really dry yesterday and I probably should have watered it, but I hurt my back, so I had to take the day off. Here's another set of cucumbers. I planted the big ones and the small ones again. Got a couple of plants that are coming up here, but again, very, very small. I'm not impressed. The lettuce is doing fantastic. So there's the romaine and the green leaf here. I'm really happy with how that's coming along. Onions are looking great compared to last year. Potatoes, I think this is the best I've ever had for potatoes. These plants are probably about 2 feet tall. I replanted all the corn, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of the new ones coming out. I even soaked the seeds first, see if that would help, but I'm really not seeing much coming up here. I definitely don't have the soil for corn, so I'm gonna have to research for next year to see what I need to do to get better corn. I should talk to my neighbor, he has fantastic corn. So looking here, I've got carrots. I'm not sure if this is enough carrots, but it looks pretty similar to what I had last year. So I may still plant a few more. Tomatoes, we're finally getting some. I see 3 or 4, maybe 6 on there. So I'm happy that that's coming along, considering how rough a time it had. When I planted it, it was windy that night and it just got beat to hell, and it wasn't looking good for the longest time, but it seems to have come back. Now looking here, I planted a cucumber plant, which again got beat to hell. It was dead, it broke off, so there was just a stem left, and now that little stem has little leaves and flowers. We're actually going to get cucumber from this thing. I can't believe it. I can't believe it came back. That's just shows you how amazing nature is. It just wants to survive. Alright, so let's take a walk down there. It's been a little while since I've taken a walk and did an update, so let's head down there. So my pepper plants are still small, but they're starting. Still the best I've ever had. I'm really happy that those are growing. I'd love to get some peppers. Still have the one apple, and I've been covering it with the diatomaceous earth, whatever it's called, to try to keep worms off of it and other critters. I had a bunch of aphids up here and ants on the upper leaves, and I've pulled some of those leaves off and I've coated the tree with the powder to try to keep those off, like a natural insecticide. I read that ants actually farm the aphids to keep them on the leaves, and they just carry them over to their house to eat when they get older. Looking down here in the middle of the weeds, we have our little watermelon plants. Still very small, so there's something missing in this soil too that the watermelon plants need. So I'm gonna have to look at that. Pumpkin, on the other hand, I definitely have the soil for pumpkin. Like, these are the biggest leaves I've ever seen. If I put my foot next to one of them, you can see how big those are. They're about, I don't know, 14 inches in diameter, maybe 16 inches long. Those are massive leaves. I'm still not seeing any flowers, but I think I'm going to pollinate these flowers myself. I saw a few TikTok videos where you pull off the male flower and you rub it on the inside of the female one. So I may just do that just to make sure they do get pollinated. I do have a lot of bees around here. I've been saving little patches of wildflowers and clover. When I do mow the lawn, I leave a good section so that the bees have something to eat. Try to keep them around here, but still not as many as I would like. So more watermelon here. Again, really small little plants. Deer have been around. They were in my neighbor's garden. They must have come here. They cut all of the sunflowers down. I'm not sure if I mentioned that last time. I see this one was cut down, but it's starting to come back. It's interesting. And then I have just this one here that wasn't eaten, so I'll have to wait for that one to grow. Rhubarb holding off. This is about the time of year that it usually dies off, when it gets really hot in July. So we'll see if it manages to stay the whole year or not. I've been having trouble with it. Strawberries are done for the year. I'm about to make this much bigger, so I'll be doing that soon, but we've got a decent harvest. The grapes here are loving this little rack that I put in place. So they're now about closing in on 5 feet tall. Still no fruit or anything, no signs of fruit, but I'm just happy with how strong they're getting, how much they're growing. Here's raspberries. So I did get some raspberries, like these are ready to pick, but for some reason the plants are just so tiny. Not sure if I mentioned this the last time, but it's they're just about 8-10 inches off the ground. It's just really strange. And then if we look here, our blueberries are just starting to change color. So they're mostly white, but got a couple of purple ones there. So that's pretty exciting. And here's the new tree that I planted just recently. So this is Golden Delicious. It had about 7 apples on it when I got it. But if I look here, this is the last apple. It's not looking good. I'm not sure what's going on there, but it looks like birds have been pecking at it or something. So I'm gonna toss that off. We'll see how this one goes next year. I spent a lot of extra time working on the soil when I planted this one versus these here. I just threw in the soil. They didn't do well for the first couple of years. They're starting to come along now, so I'm hoping this one will have a good head start with some real good soil. All right, let's head back up to this first garden here. Like I said, those onions are doing really well, and I'm hoping that's helping to deter some of the animals. Maybe they're not interested in onions. I really need to start picking some of this lettuce. So my turnip screen is working great. Like I showed you the other day, some of the moths were flying around to try to plant their eggs and their worms. Oh, I see this got lifted up. Hoping nothing got inside of there. But so far they're growing so much that it's overwhelming the screen. I also noticed these different types of leaves in here, and I was wondering, like, what is that? Why do I have some big leaves and some small leaves? It doesn't look like weeds. So I thought, geez, there's something weird going on. Then my aunt posted on Facebook that she was growing some flowers called nasturtiums, and I remembered that someone told me that those help keep pests away from your plants, and I planted some, and I guess I planted some with the turnips. So that's what those are. So I should start seeing some flowers in there soon. And I don't know if I mentioned this as I walked by earlier, but I have some little beans sprouting out there, and it's really dry. I've got to get some water in here, so I may come over with the watering can and just give those a little bit of water. I don't like to water the garden in the sun, so definitely this evening I will. But yeah, I'm really disappointed with the cucumber. My first year I had so many. It was fantastic. I love cucumber. I had so many. I ate them every day myself. I gave tons away, and this year, actually the last few years, I've had such little cucumbers growing that I'm quite disappointed. So some research to do this year to find out why the corn, the cucumbers, and the watermelon aren't growing, what's missing in my soil. So that's where we are now. See you guys in August. Well, it's now the end of July, and I'm out just before sunset, and I'm going to start watering a few things, and I figured I'd do a pretty good update. Take a look at where everything is right now. Here we have the green leaf lettuce. As you can see, it's really well grown. Some of the edges are turning brown, so I think it's time to pick that stuff. Have a look at the turnips. They are growing so thick under that mesh, since the cabbage worms can't get them, that they're actually bulging out the edges of the mesh. So it's probably not that good for the plants, being so suffocated like that. I think I'm gonna wait another week or two, and I might actually pull it off, because I haven't seen any butterflies in a little while. So I think at that point, like, the leaves have gotten so big that I don't think they'll be torn apart too badly if the worms do get at them. I'm finally getting some small cucumber plants sprouting, so there may still be a bit of chance for that before the end of the season. I've got some pickling ones over there too. There's a couple that came up. Romaine lettuce, this is definitely my best year for romaine lettuce. They're massive. They're basically the same size you get in the store, and I have so many. I've given a few away already. I plan on tomorrow picking a few and giving some away, because we definitely can't eat this salad fast enough to keep up with how quickly they're growing, and I don't know how long they can sit in the ground like this before being picked. So I think tomorrow I'm gonna pick a few and give away. Onions are doing much better than the last few years, where they would just pop up, and in a few weeks they would just disappear under the weeds. They're looking really tall and healthy, so I'm hoping we got some nice big bulbs underneath there. Potatoes, these are definitely the tallest plants I've ever had. So the compost I put in there this year seems to have really helped a lot, as well as the fertilizer. These plants are well over 2.5 feet tall, so quite impressive. Some of them have the little potato seeds on them. Oh, speaking of white butterflies, there's one now, so he can move along since he can't get at those turnips. So my one tomato plant is doing quite well. A lot of tomatoes on there, so it's just growing away. I had that one cucumber plant that died. Well, it's sort of coming back. Got a few little flowers on there. I'm not sure if it'll actually grow any cucumbers, but we'll see. Carrots are growing in nice. I don't know if I have as many as last year, but we're doing all right. I'm hoping to have a lot that I can save throughout the winter. Now these corn plants, I planted a ton more, and I only have maybe one or two little ones that sprouted from that. There's another one there, another one there, but they're real small. But the original ones from earlier this year are really growing big and tall. Looking at this guy here, like that's a good 1.25 1.5 inch stalk on it, so that's quite big. I'm happy with that. I'm loving how these peppers are growing. Still, I don't think they're anywhere near big enough to start producing some peppers, but they're doing better than any other year that I've attempted to grow peppers. And as I mentioned before, these are using seeds that I pulled out of store-bought peppers. So I think I'm going to save some from these peppers if it does grow any, and if not, then I'll buy some and I'll save those seeds. Our one apple still growing away. I've been coating it with diatomaceous earth to try to keep any worms and bugs off of it. So far, I think we're doing good. Because that would just be really disappointing if that one apple we got had no or had worms in it. So nothing from the peach tree this year. I'm not sure if that falls under the whole only every second year producing or not. Let's have a look at the sunflowers. I mentioned a little while back that something came here, a deer or something, and ate all of the sunflowers, chopped them all down. Well, it's looking like it may grow another head. I don't know if they do that. So looking at both of these, they definitely don't look like they're growing normal leaves, but I'm not sure if they can. See, right in the middle there, is that just leaves or is it going to grow a new head? Not sure. Our watermelon, slowly but surely growing. They're not big, but they're starting to reach out here. So I've got several of these watermelon plants. Got 1, 2, 3 here, and behind all the pumpkin, that massive mess of pumpkins, which is just getting out of hand. I come out in the mornings and I pollinate any of the female flowers with the male ones. I had 2 this morning, I think, that opened up, and I see some male flowers ready to go tomorrow. That female is probably going to open up, so we'll see in the morning if those 2 are open or not. But it's exciting to finally get some good healthy pumpkin plants, considering the last few years I had very few. Especially last year was terrible, but look at how massive this thing is. It's probably, I'd say, 10 feet wide by about 12 feet long, so it's really growing there. And I've got some more watermelon plants here. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8 or 9 of them here. I'm trying to keep these plants separated. I'm trying to get the pumpkins all to move straight and to the right, and then get all the watermelon to move to the left here. So we'll see if that works. Like, those pumpkins are really starting to take over. Here's the one sunflower that was not broken down, and if I look in the center, it looks really similar to what's happening on these that were broken down. So I wouldn't be surprised if those, even though they're broken down, that they don't grow another head. That'll be nature for you. Now, rhubarb, I just noticed today it's starting to look a little pitiful, but I think this is the longest it's gone into the year without dying off. And I was just thinking that the other day when I was watering it. Maybe it'll last the whole year, because if you remember the last few years, you have this thing, it looks beautiful and strong, and then come near the end of the year, it's gone way too early. And I thought maybe it was the heat, but we're in the middle of a heat wave and it was still looking strong yesterday. But now looking at those leaves, like, they're really not looking too good. So we'll see what happens. I might just give it a little more water and we'll see if that's all it needs. Here, as you can see, I extended the strawberry patch. I was really happy with how many strawberries we got this year. And I said, hell, look at the room we have here. Why don't we use it for more stuff that we like? So this is roughly 16 feet by 16, so like 64 square feet of strawberries that I hope to have growing here. I have the original plant that my friend Pierre gave me that is now about 4 by 4, 5 by 5, something like that. And I planted this new one a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And I'm hoping now to get some strawberries, and I'm just going to plant seeds throughout the rest, and we'll just let it go wild and grow, and hopefully we'll have enough strawberries to share with the animals that keep stealing them, and have enough for ourselves too. Now looking at the grapes here, still no fruit, no sign of fruit, but look how tall they're getting. So that rack itself is about 6 feet, and that vine is now about a foot above there. So I don't know what it's going to do now. I might just tuck it through the hole here so that if it does get too high and it falls, that the grate will help it support itself. But yeah, that's it's getting pretty tall. I might need something better to hold those going forward. I really don't know what the best way to support grapes are. So down here is where I planted the new raspberry plant. So those two raspberry plants I mentioned before are not nearly as tall as they used to be. I don't understand why. So I planted this guy, so we've got a third here. And way at the end, we've got our blueberry bushes. So I planted 2 more of those, so 4 blueberry bushes. Notice my girlfriend today came down and she picked our 1 blueberry that was remaining. So she managed to get that before the birds got it, because the rest, the birds picked them all. And I forget if I mentioned this, but I must have. I planted another apple tree here, so a Golden Delicious. So if you take a look down there, we've got our 4 fruit trees, the 3 apple and the 1 peach. So that's it for this update. Like I said, it's doing much better than last year. Obviously starting early helped. I really don't understand why corn will not catch. You just see the few plants that I have there, but for the number of seeds I planted, I swear I planted at least 100 seeds between the 3 or 4 packages that I planted. Some of them straight in the ground, some of them were soaked for a while first. I thought I watered it enough, but for some reason I just cannot get corn to grow as effectively as some of this other stuff. And cucumber, like my first few years planting cucumber, even with shitty soil, I had tons of them. And here I have just a few plants struggling. 2, 4, 6. So I got 6 or 7 plants here. So tiny. The weeds just growing right around them like it's nothing. And 3, 4 more plants here. But just tiny, tiny struggling plants. So definitely missing something in my soil. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comments. What does my soil need for cucumber? Well, that's it for this update. See you guys in August. Well, it looks like we got some bad news today. Our 1 apple finally fell off the tree, and it looks like something has been in there eating it. So no apples again for this year, but at least there's a bit of promise in that we got 1 apple growing, and you know, it's still a little small, but the color looks real good. So I'm pretty excited for more apples in the future. All right, it's the second week of August, and you can see my corn is really nice and tall, and it's all blooming and pollinating. I've got lots of little corn husks, so it looks like there may be some cobs there if it gets fertilized. So I come down and try to fertilize it by hand. I take some of the little pollen seeds from the top and sprinkle it on the hairs, hoping that it'll catch, and we'll see what happens. But geez, if I had like twice or 3 times this much, I'd be pretty excited about the corn. But you know, it's still looking better than last year, so I'm hoping for a pretty good result. Carrots are doing well. Tomatoes are going crazy here. I've got so many of them, and they're starting to ripen right on the vine. So I picked about 4 of them already, so I'm gonna pick some more soon and maybe bring some to work to give away. We can see the green beans are starting to climb up the poles. Cucumber plants are really struggling. You can see they're a lot taller than they were last week, but we had a good rain this week. Everything else around it is growing like crazy. I've weeded this already. The weeds are just going nuts. You can see over by the corn it's green. I started pulling some out, just weeds like crazy. So my soil is perfect for growing weeds. Cucumbers, not so much. Turnips, look at the size of these turnips. Like, these leaves are massive. And I'm not even worried about the cabbage worms anymore. Look at the size of the turnips in there, massive. So these are doing really well. You can see the other cucumbers here, still just little plants. I'm pretty confident I'll have something before it gets too cold. I think these are going to spread out and I'll at least get little plants. Onions are doing really well. Like I said in the last little clip, I'm done with the lettuce for now. Pumpkins are doing really well. Let's come down and take a look at them. So I haven't seen many female flowers in the past week, but look at all the great big pumpkins in there. So that guy there is a good 10 to 12 inches long. A couple of other big ones in there and some little guys. So pretty happy with how many are growing. I just hope that they're healthy and that they get a lot bigger. Now, I don't know if I pointed this out last time, but I had this tiny little watermelon, about this big, that I shared on social media. Well, that little watermelon is now this big. Look at him. He's about the size, almost the size of a tennis ball. So definitely bigger than a golf ball, but coming along. Another little guy there. And I think I have a little one over here as well. Get that fly off of it. So, oh, here's another little guy here. That one's about the size of a golf ball. So exciting to finally get some decent looking watermelon. Got sunflower here. He's about, I'd say 4.5 feet tall. So he's doing well. You can see the grapes in the distance there. They are really reaching for the sky now. They're a good 1.5 feet beyond the metal structure that I put there. So unfortunately he's not going to be able to climb much more than that. Looking over here at the raspberries. So that's the raspberry plant I planted recently. It seems to be doing well. And I had a couple of extra berries here. There wasn't enough to eat, but I planted them just down here. So I'm hoping that they're going to start sprouting. I don't know if that sprouts the same year. That sort of looks like the same leaves, so maybe that's it. I'm not sure. It may have been too dry. And down on the blueberries, the two back plants are doing okay. Those are the ones that had fruit earlier. But this big guy is doing really well. It's spread out quite a bit. It's nice and bright. But that one seems to be doing better than the little guy on the right. So my strawberries seem to be doing okay. I can see that new plant is starting to stretch out there. He's about a foot or so beyond where he was originally. And the bigger plant, since I moved the boards out, it's starting to spread. So hopefully I can fill this up next year. I mentioned earlier in the last clip that we lost our one apple, so that was a little bit disappointing. Now, I was out here pulling some weeds. You can see the big pile I have there. And I took a glance over at the potatoes, and my God, am I ever disappointed. I have an infestation of Colorado potato beetles. So I'm out here at the shop vac hoping I can just start sucking these guys up, take care of them. But this is the first year in all the years I've been gardening that I've gotten potato bugs. Everyone I talk to, they tell me that they don't grow potatoes because of this. So yeah, my first year seems to be on this side of the strip more than anywhere else. So I'm going to start here. I'm hoping the vacuum can suck them up and not damage the plants too much, but obviously it won't damage them any more than the beetles will. It's had a pretty good growing season already. Some of the plants were starting to die off anyway, so I'm not too worried about the potatoes underneath. Even if they do die, I think they'll be big enough and plentiful enough. But that's about it for this update. I'm gonna get to work and get rid of these damn bugs. See you in the next one. Wow, you know what? That worked great. I just took the shop vac. I looked for little clumps or any bugs that I saw and just brought the shop back close. It sucked them in, it sucked the leaves in a little bit, and the leaves came out, didn't even hurt it. So I went around twice and I got all the ones that I could see. A few fell on the ground, so I just moved the plants out of the way and sucked them off the ground. What I'm going to do is Friday now, so I'll come by again tomorrow and maybe Sunday and get any stragglers. I just spotted one down there, so I'm going to grab the vacuum and hit them again, and you know, we'll get the numbers to go down, and maybe that'll be it for this infestation. So I'm feeling a little bit better now than I was. Right, so 3rd week of August, and I'm out here in the garden, and look how massive these corn stalks are. I'm going to stand next to one, and you can see they're much taller than me. And some of the corn is looking pretty big. It's a little bit white because I put some diametaceous earth on there, but I think these are filling up, so hopefully those will be edible in a little bit. But yeah, nice tall stalks. They didn't fall over this year for the first time, which is great. Carrots are like really growing in nice. I'm gonna have to pick those soon. Over here we've got the peppers, and this is my first year actually growing peppers. Like, I try every year, but I don't get anything. But like, these are the biggest plants I've ever had, and there's not a single pepper on there. So how tall do these things have to be? Like, do they flower first? I know nothing about peppers because, like I said, it's my first year with anything that looks remotely like this. So obviously not big enough for actually growing a pepper on there. I see, oh, I don't know if you saw that go by, but there's a little snake. Hi, buddy. I noticed a lot of people on one of my YouTube gardening groups has peppers. Some of my other friends do, so they're doing something that I'm not. I mentioned in the last video that I had a potato bug infestation, so I come out every morning and every evening and I pick off any stragglers. I've gotten the bugs under control, but I think most of the potato plants were already on their way out, and this sort of accelerated the process. As you can see, there's a lot of dead plants there, a couple healthy ones at the far end, but all in all, I think it's pretty much it for the potatoes. I dug out a little bit off the end there because we needed some for groceries, and rather than buy them, I'm going to use what we've got. Onions, I heard that onions you have to pick when the greens fall over, so I've got quite a few there. So I think I might pick these this weekend. So it's Thursday now, so I'll pick those probably tomorrow evening or Saturday. My cucumber plants are still not big, but as you can see, they're flowering like crazy. I hope the bees are out here and pollinating those, because I would really like some cucumbers. I did pick one of these turnips, and they're massive. It was a big turnip. You can see the hole there. I've got some little guys in there, but I think I'm gonna have to harvest these soon. I'm really not sure if there's a better time to pick them or not. Should do a little more research. My green beans are nice and tall. They're all the way up the stalks there. Not flowering yet, but as you can see, they're ready to. So we should have those in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know how long that takes. Cucumbers down at this end, I forget which are which, but 3 little plants. This one's starting to flower a little bit too. So that's what's going on in this top garden here. Head down to the bottom one. Our pumpkins are nice and orange. I don't know if that means they're done growing or not, but I'm going to leave them on the vine until we're ready to use them. But nice orange pumpkins there. Just a little one right there. And then we've got our watermelon. This one's not looking fantastic. I put these little trays here with more of the diametaceous earth to keep the bugs off of them, because there's nothing worse than growing a nice fruit and then finding bugs in it. Speaking of, here's a bug in this one. Oh no, maybe not. So there's this little guy here who looks like it might have been a little on the dry side. We had some good rain yesterday. I haven't been watering as much as I should. And over here we have more watermelon. These were the bigger ones. So this was the first one that started growing, and he's a little bigger than an apple right now. And I'm gonna coat that one again now that the rain is done for a little while. And then we've got this little guy who's starting to grow a little deformed. I don't like that. And then this guy just caught up and passed the other one, and it's looking really nice. So I hope to get much bigger. And that's about it for the watermelon. So more than I've ever had before. Not bigger. I've had a bigger one of my first years. The rhubarb has lasted basically the whole year. We're into the fall now, and it's still here. I'm happy it hasn't died off. So I'm thinking it was a water issue. Every year we've had a lot of hot summers. This year I made extra effort to keep it watered, so that might be what the issue was. So I may have to add something to the soil to try to help retain some water a little longer during those dry spells. So the other day I was out here and I bought a tray of strawberries. I mashed them up and I spread all the strawberries everywhere in here, and I watered it really good. So I'm going to try to stay on top of that to really fill this thing up with strawberries. You can see the plant that I added late this year is flowering, so you may get a couple of strawberries from that. I'm not 100% sure. See a little UPC in there. Grab that. So yeah, I'm hoping that I'm gonna have this whole what is this, about 16 by 16, so 64 square feet. I'm hoping that this will be full of strawberries next year. It'd be a lot of fun. The grapes, I don't know where they're going. That's out there like, I don't know, almost 2 feet, just heading out that way. So I'll let it go, see where it ends up. But yeah, I really don't know how long it takes to get fruit from one of these, but I'm just happy to see those tiny little plants that I planted here a year or 2 ago, 2 years ago, being this tall. That's, you know, almost 7 feet tall now. Raspberries, it looks like the little ones that I planted are not really doing much, but the plants themselves are looking fairly healthy, so I hope those come back strong next year. And way down here we have the blueberries. I think they're looking pretty good, so I'm happy with them. That one seems to have grown quite a bit since I planted it, so that's good to see. All right, so that's pretty much it for this update. Still no sunflower. This week we're at the Sunflower Festival in Salisbury, and about 50% of their flowers were open. So I imagine this guy should open up soon enough. If we take a look up there, it shouldn't be too long. And I'd say that's about 6 feet tall now. So it's doing quite well. So yeah, that's it for this update. We'll see if I start harvesting stuff soon enough. I still have to learn how to store all these potatoes and turnips to make them last longer. Carrots as well. Think of the old school methods of a root cellar or something like that. So by the time I post this, everything will already be out and in storage. But if you have any ideas for next year, you can let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say. So I'm just out doing my rounds in the potato field to get rid of the potato bugs. So I've been pretty meticulous in staying after these. Every morning I come through and I pick off any potato bugs that are there. Come out with my little McDonald's cup. You can see I've got 3 of them in there now. It seems to be, for the past few weeks, only adults that I'm finding. So I believe they're flying in at night, landing on the plants, and then I just pick them off in the morning. I'm not seeing any larvae, so I don't even think they're getting the chance to lay eggs. So there must be another potato field around here, one of my neighbors who may have an infestation, and now they're moving over here looking to spread. So I'm just picking off the adults so that they don't have a chance to burrow into the ground, and I'll be maybe less likely to get them next year. Hopefully it'll discourage whoever else is planting potatoes not to plant them, and then I'll be even less likely to have them, because this is my first time ever in, I don't know, about 8 years of gardening that I've had potato bugs, so I'd rather not have it happen again. I mentioned earlier that I picked all of my onions. I think I'm going to hold off on the rutabagas, like the turnips, and the carrots until much later in the fall. I'm just going to leave them in the ground until I actually need some. Corn, I'm going to wait until my neighbor picks his, because he planted a little bit earlier than me. So I can see it looks fully grown, some of them. So I'm sure they're probably ready. And I've read that you can just pop them open and pierce one to test it. But I think once he picks his, I should be good to pick mine. I'm really hoping for some cucumbers. As you can see, those plants are flowering like crazy. Like, look at all the yellow flowers in there. Tons of them in here. Yet I'm not seeing one single cucumber. Really densely packed flowers. Oh, geez, hello. There's a cucumber. Just as I was saying that. But it looks like something was eating it, which is a shame. So my first cucumber, big bite out of it. So I should look around for some more. I can see these guys are standing under the turnips there. Not sure where they're going. I want to climb something. So I should look around for more cucumbers before I say that I have none. So that was a quite large one, so this must not be the pickling cucumber batch. So that was a surprise. Just looking around here for more. Don't know how I missed that. That was quite large. No, I'm not seeing any more here. This plant either. Oh, here we go. So there's two in there, and again, something's been picking at these. Jeez, what a shame. So yeah, I'm not sure what's getting in there. That looks like teeth marks. So something definitely eating these. Maybe the groundhog next door. Well, nice to see cucumbers finally growing here. A couple little guys there. So it's about time we finally get some cucumber. It's great. Excited about that. We should have green beans any day now. I can see they're flowering, so that should start up real soon. Let's check out these cucumber plants. So these must be the small pickling cucumbers. Not seeing anything there. Nothing here either. So I believe these will be very soon after seeing the other ones. Yeah, any day now, I'd say. Well, that's exciting. Let's just have a little peek into the pile of rutabagas here. These are, you can't tell, but they're about 3 feet tall. These leaves, maybe 3.5. So really tall. Look at that big guy right there. That's probably about 6 inches in diameter. So real nice turnips here. I picked one last week for a stew. Really nice. Alright, so I think that's about it for harvesting now. I have another little cucumber plant down on the other side there. Let's go take a look at that. So just in here, we have this guy surrounded by weeds. Oh my, I really need to do some weeding here. Been really busy with work and neglecting the garden. So No cucumber here yet, but I'm gonna pull those vines up so that the bees can get at them. Wow, look at this tomato plant. I picked all the tomatoes off probably about 2 weeks ago, and this is overflowing with tomatoes again. Like there must be 40 or more. Look at them. Like, how did this happen? Wow, look at all the branches, and they're full of tomatoes. They don't look great. A lot of them have little marks on them, but wow, thought this thing would be done for the year. Look at them all. It's crazy. Well, I made some salsa with the tomatoes I had picked before, so I'm gonna have to see how big and how good these look. Maybe it's gonna be enough to make some sauce as well. So down here where the corn is, you can see these are really nice big stalks. They look real nice. Some of these I came down and pollinated myself. This one doesn't look as thick as it could. But wow, look at all these cobs. Wow, there's a big one down here. These are looking real nice. Jeez, I did not expect this considering how few plants there were. Like, these are the smallest plants I had, and yet they still have big corn cobs. You can see the two different types too. The first batch I planted were peaches and cream, so that's all the red and green stalks. And then when those weren't growing well, I replanted a bunch of just regular yellow corn, and that's all of these green ones in front. And they were just tiny, kind of sporadic plants, but that one there has 2 or 3 cobs on it. This little guy has a nice big one on it too. Interesting. Let's go look at those peppers. I was disappointed I haven't gotten any peppers yet, no flowering. Those plants are really tall. If they're not going to flower by now, I don't think they ever will. Such big plants. So nice, but still no peppers. Little grasshopper there. Yep, still nothing on these pepper plants. Really too bad. They're so healthy looking. Someday my soil will be in really good condition and we'll grow everything really well. Let's head down and check out the status of the watermelons. We had a nice big rain last week. So this guy looking really dark. I don't know if I like how dark it is, but it still looks like it's growing good there. I think that's the only one in this area. Look how bright orange those pumpkins are. Really nice. Now, here was the first watermelon to start growing. I don't like how many bugs are around this thing. I'm gonna put some more powder on them. One here. Too many ants around. Another one here. This is the biggest one. Surpassed the last one. Oh wow, that's about softball size, maybe grapefruit size. It's looking real nice. Little guy starting here. And little one here as well. So no bugs in them yet, which is good. Nothing more discouraging than growing something and having an animal or a bug eat it. Just looking at these pumpkins here. I can't wait to pick them. So still 2 months before Halloween, so I don't know what these are going to look like by then. I'm just going to leave them here until we need to pick them. See a lot of yellow in the leaves here. I don't know if that's from them dying or just too much rain lately. we had a ton of rain that kind of forced our sunflowers to lean a little. First, I put the sprinkler on them to give the watermelon some extra water, and my timer broke, so it got 12 hours of water instead of 2 hours. And then a day later, we got, I don't know, 15 millimeters of rain. So you can see the big sunflower there is leaning, but it is some tall. I'm gonna say 8 feet, oh, maybe 7 feet. Let me reach up and we'll see. So this is as high as I can reach. I'm 5'9". If I go on my toes, I can just reach the top. So I'm gonna say that's about 7 feet high. So it should, I imagine, open soon. We just had the Sunflower Festival in a nearby town, and most of their sunflowers are open already, so I suspect that should open soon. Ours always seem to open a little late. Well, I'm just walking out in the garden this morning. It looks like something's been through here. I'm guessing a deer or something, and it took down a bunch of the corn plants, knocked the corn on the ground, and there's definitely some bite marks on it. So I was kind of waiting to pick this stuff, but I might just pick it now before something comes back and takes what we have left. I just came in to check on my onions, which have been drying for about a week now, and it looks like we have another infestation. So as you can see, gardening is pretty difficult when it comes to the pests. And we have a batch of onion flies which have laid eggs, and now we've got some onion larvae or onion maggots in there. So this whole batch is going to be garbage, unfortunately, but at least I had the fun of growing it, and as usual, learning about all the pests that we have to deal with when gardening. Alright, so I'm just out watering a few things. I've really been neglecting the garden a lot these past few weeks with lots of overtime at work. We finally have cucumbers growing. I picked a nice one. I'm going to take a picture of that a little later. I've got lots of little guys growing here, so it's really kicked in overdrive with the number of cucumbers growing. I threw some diatomaceous earth everywhere because I've got a few that some animals and bugs have been eating, so try to discourage that. I just cut up all of this wire mesh and made some little trellises for the cucumbers to climb to kind of get them off the ground. Here's my big bag of diatomaceous earth to put down, and then I've got the little gherkins here growing. Got several of them. Take a little peek here. I thought there was one here. Yeah, one there. See a nice big one there. So those I'm gonna pick to pickle. But yeah, things are going real nice still. We're second week of September. Finally have some green beans growing. These little guys. So as you can see, there's a nice big tall plant here. So I expect a lot considering the number of flowers, which is good. You can see lots of little guys there. So I plan on pickling these and making some spicy green peppers, or sorry, green beans. And I was over in the peppers here, still not seeing any peppers, and I was starting to wonder what's going on, why none of them are flowering. But I've got one single flower on this small plant here, which I think you need more than one to pollinate. But I'm hoping if this one is pollinating or flowering and it's so small that these big guys should be doing it soon. I can see some little bud looking things, so I expect that that should flower soon, and hopefully this year we'll have some peppers before it gets too cold. I have the sprinkler on the pumpkins here, bright orange. See, the leaves are quite yellow, so it's probably been really wanting some water. So I'm gonna leave that on for a little bit. Our sunflower finally opened up. You can see this guy is a good 8 feet in the air. I can just barely touch the yellow of the flower. So it's a nice tall guy there. Proud of that one. Again, not facing the way the sun is. So I get the dumbest sunflowers every year. So yeah, I'm fighting off the mosquitoes. I'm going to head inside. I picked a few corn, which I should be cooking. I'm probably going to cook them up for tonight for tomorrow. And I'll be picking some more if the deer can stay out of it. I also picked this great big plant, a great big carrot, which I think I just mentioned earlier when I was picking some weeds. And I can see some of these carrots are starting to flower, so I'm gonna have to pick them, I think, earlier than I had planned. Tomatoes are still going nuts and growing. I cut off all the extra flowers to give the tomatoes the last little bunch of energy. So I'm gonna pick off those ripe ones right now, let the rest of them continue to grow. And that's it for this update. Flies are after me. See you in a bit. Well, Hurricane Fiona just passed through last night, and we didn't get hit too bad, just a lot of wind and rain. If we look down here, the corn is all knocked over, but that was mostly picked anyway. The last little bit I've been giving to the birds. We can see my green beans. All the sticks are broken and it's kind of leaning over. I put an extra support to prop it up, but that didn't help. So I'm just gonna wait till the wind dies down first before I stand it up again. But I think the plant will be okay for a little bit. Here the cucumbers kind of been blown around. So they're basically on the ground now, no longer on the little racks that I made. It's still crazy windy. You can see the trees being blown around. I've got the tractor out. I'm gonna be pulling the Jeep around. The fuel pump went in it, so I need to change that. And all the turnip greens got pushed in the direction of the wind, which allows me to see some of the turnips. Look at this massive one. Oh my. I think a lot of this stuff is going to get picked tomorrow. My niece and nephew might be coming over to help pick. But look at the size of this thing next to my hand. It's probably, geez, at least 12 inches across. Probably not pretty because it's been growing next to that other one, but just massive, massive turnips. Rutabaga actually, but we call them turnips here. So more cucumbers on the ground. You can see them all growing there. They're still doing all right. Just really short and fat this year, which is kind of strange. I'm glad my apple trees survived this. If you remember when Dorian went through, it actually tore down this tree, which is, this is the replacement actually. And I can see it's struggling right now. Ground is really soft and it's really pulling it out. So I'm gonna go find something to tie that up right now before it gets any worse. The others seem to be doing really well. Just that one there, the Honeycrisp. You can see the sunflower is not having a good day. All right, so I'm gonna head up and tie up that tree before it gets any worse. But that's it for this little update. We'll see what the aftermath is once the wind dies down. Oh my God, so I'm just walking around the garden right now with Pierre and we're looking at some of the carrots and we just pulled this massive guy out of there. Look at that. Oh my God. How big is that? That's like 2.5 inch,
2.5, yeah.
Oh my God, that's a massive carrot.
2.5, probably like 6 or 7 inch long.
Oh man, that's more than 6 or 7 inches. Oh man, it's almost 8. A foot, man. We're gonna have to go measure that. That's crazy. That's a big carrot. That's crazy.
Yeah, these ones you actually see where they are. Can you help it? This one's like jammed in.
There you go.
You called turnip remover. Mommy! Can you help?
I think you can do it. Just get a good grip.
Here, wait, could you stop eating the turnip, please? I'm trying to pick.
You got it.
No!
You got it. There you go.
Hurt.
Wow. Broke off?
Yeah.
loosened it up for you.
Mommy, I'm young.
Wow.
I think I have a worm in my foot.
In your foot?
In my shoe.
Oh yeah?
Oh, ew.
Yuck.
Logan, come on this side. Logan.
Whew. It's a big pile.
Back here.
Oh, watch where you're going. There's
Ow.
cucumbers.
That one's hard. Logan.
Oh boy.
We have to...
All right, yeah, you can toss them on your side. There, that's a big one.
Nope.
There you go. It's a nice one. There, two little ones, and I think you got them all.
Where's the little ones?
There's one little one there, and one right in front of you. I think that's it. I think you got them all. Now we'll drag them out and we'll cut the tops off.
Look at the carrot pie.
I had my niece and nephew come by and help pick some of the garden. You can see here they took out a lot of the carrots. They were a big help there. And we picked all the turnips. Come down and take a look at that. You can see here, big pile of turnips. So I'm going to cut those greens off and we're going to see which ones are good enough to keep. See, some are really big. Not sure how nice they are, but I'm going to pick the best ones. So now I'm going to get back to work. We also picked a little bit of potatoes. They probably took about 10 pounds home with them. So I'm going to get back to picking more of these carrots. And I think my friend Pierre is going to come by and maybe his son Owen can help out too. So here's a big pile of carrots that we picked already. And this is probably a third of the garden of the carrot patch picked. So still a lot of carrots in the ground. Very big carrots this year, bigger than previous years, so that's exciting. So I'm gonna get back to that. Well, it's pumpkin harvest day. Jan's planning on decorating soon, so I'm gonna pull all these guys up and pile them on the porch. Alright, so I'm just outside now picking some potatoes and carrots for Thanksgiving supper. You can see my little pile of potatoes there. And I'm starting to pick a couple of carrots, and I've got some that are growing kind of weird. I'm starting a pile for the compost. I just pulled this sucker out. Look at the size of that. It's like as big as my arm. It's about 4 inches in diameter, if not more. It's crazy. Massive, massive carrot. I'm sure it's multiple carrots growing together, but what a beast. Look at this thing next to my foot. That's insane. Believe it or not, it's mid-November. I have the tractor ready for the snow. Mocha and I are enjoying the sun. Nice, beautiful day. And we've had one of the mildest Octobers and first few weeks of November that I can remember. And I still have not picked the rest of my carrots and potatoes. but we have snow coming. The temperatures are starting to drop closer to freezing, and I'm gonna try to get this stuff picked today. Alright, so that's it for the carrots. Got a nice little pile here picked, and I'm going to can those. So I just slice them and then I put them in water with my pressure canner. And then I've got all of these that are going to go straight in the compost. They're like giant mutant ones and like the weird multiple ones growing together, so I'm not going to bother saving those. Now Mocha wants to go in, so I better bring him in. My phone died, but I managed to get all the potatoes picked. Seems like a lot of them were picked at by some ants and birds, and some were exposed to the sun for too long because we had a lot of rain this year, which washed a lot of the soil off. So you can see the pile on the left is the stuff that's going to go in the compost. Stuff on the right is the stuff I'm going to bring in. So I'm going to collect that. I'm going to collect the carrots, get everything cleaned up, and that'll be it for the garden for this year. Thanks for hanging out for another year, and I'll see you again next year when we do it all over again. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do, and I'll see you in the next one.